There are moments when a man's reputation stops being something people talk about and becomes something they place in his hands. Velmir had spent his time in Aldor building his name one promise at a time. A returned manuscript, a stolen shipment, a problem solved. Small things, perhaps, but a promise has never been measured by its size. Then, in Mannshire, he was summoned again. This time, the request was different. Signal Tower had fallen, and something ancient now stood between Mannshire and the road beyond it. A troll. Velmir had heard stories of creatures like this before. In Skadia, men spoke of giants wandering the frozen mountains. But stories were easy to believe when you had never seen one. This would be different. The governor of Mannshire was not asking Velmir to prove himself. He was asking him to restore something the people of Aldor depended upon. And Velmir understood what that meant. This was no longer simply another contract. This was trust. So he returned to the caravan. He spoke with the others, checked his equipment, and prepared for the road. There was no ceremony, no hesitation. If his word was worth anything, this was the moment to prove it.
The tower was already visible in the distance. But as Velmir drew closer, an enormous shadow began to rise beside it. Then the creature turned. Its eyes found Velmir, and the troll unleashed a roar so brutal that it seemed to shake the ground beneath his feet, a cry that could be heard for miles. Velmir did not step back. He only tightened his grip around his mace. For the first time, he truly understood the size of the task he had accepted. But his word had already been given. Now he had to prove how much it was worth. Velmir stepped forward, and the battle for the weight of his word began. The fog was part of the fight. The tension grew with every step of the beast, but Velmir remained completely focused. The troll was lethal. Every strike could end a man's life, but its movements were slow, and that was enough. Velmir did not need to rush. He only needed to find the right distance and wait for the right moment. When it came, his mace would begin to spin. Once, and again, and again, each rotation building more momentum. Every step the troll took giving him another opportunity. Velmir would wait, measure, and when he found the precise moment, he would deliver the blow, the sentence, again and again. It would be a long fight, but Velmir had only just begun. Velmir could not afford to let his guard down. Again and again, the troll tried to corner him against a tree or a structure, reducing his options until there was nowhere left to go. It was the instinct of a beast hunting its prey. But if he allowed the troll to dictate the fight, Velmir could lose more than his life. He could lose his word. So he decided that he would be the one to decide where the fight would go. Every step, every distance, every opportunity. Velmir began controlling the terrain so he could control the fight. And while the troll searched for a way to trap him, he began deciding when and where every swing would fall. The troll was beginning to feel the blows of our executioner's mace. With every passing moment, the sentences became more painful. But, as the legends told, the troll possessed an incredible ability to regenerate its wounds, and Velmir knew it. If he stopped applying pressure while the beast recovered, it could become a problem. He could not give it time. He could not allow it to regain what he had worked so hard to take from it. So Velmir kept the pressure on. Let's see what he does when the beast begins to recover. Because of this, the fight was taking a little longer, but that did not stop Velmir. His mace continued searching for opportunities to land increasingly lethal blows. Strikes capable of wearing down the troll's body and preventing the beast from recovering quickly enough. To achieve this, Velmir focused even more. On every swing, every step, every movement, he sought to build more and more momentum with his mace. Waiting for the perfect moment to unleash all that force upon the beast. It was not simply about striking harder. It was about striking at the right moment. And every time the mace found the troll, the impact became more powerful. Velmir was beginning to turn his patience into strength. And now, our executioner's advantage was beginning to show. His progress throughout the fight had achieved something important. Velmir's blows had not managed to damage the troll directly, but they had worn down its hide armor. And now, that protection was beginning to give way. This was the moment when our executioner's mace would have the opportunity to deal much more significant damage. Consistency, persistence, all of it was beginning to pay off. Velmir did not need to defeat it with a single blow. He only had to keep doing what he had done from the beginning. Strike, wait, and strike again, until the troll had nowhere left to turn. Now the damage had finally reached the troll's body. Velmir's chain of blows had finally broken through its defenses. And this was the opportunity our executioner had been waiting for. The pressure could not stop, but neither could he lose control. Now Velmir had to dictate the fight. Everything had to be calculated with precision. The armor had given way, and the troll's body was finally beginning to take real damage. It was time to make every opportunity count. Velmir prepared each strike with patience, searching for the exact moment to unleash the full force of his mace. This was no longer simply about surviving. Now he had to finish the fight. And to do that, he could not give the troll a single moment to regain control. The troll was beginning to feel real pain, and it no longer had the time it needed to recover. Its strikes became less precise, more desperate. It was no longer attacking to hurt Velmir. It was attacking to buy time, to regain control of the fight. But it seemed that our executioner was breaking something beyond its body. He was breaking the beast's will. Every blow left it more vulnerable. Every attempt to regain ground ended under Velmir's control. The troll was no longer the hunter. Now it seemed to be nothing more than the target of an execution that had already been decided. Velmir had everything under control. He only had to maintain the pressure and keep damaging the troll whenever the opportunity presented itself. The beast was reaching its limit, and Velmir's mace was getting closer and closer to delivering the final sentence. The result of a battle where determination and concentration had been the key. A troll was drawing its final breaths, wounded and exhausted. It could barely keep moving, driven only by its instinct to survive. But there was little left for it to do. Velmir stood before it, waiting, and in his hands, the mace that would deliver the final sentence. And the moment finally came. Velmir's final swing found its mark, a lethal blow. The final sentence had been delivered. The troll fell. Mannshire was free from a threat that could have ended in tragedy. But for Velmir, it meant something far greater. He had arrived in Aldor as a mercenary, a man who fulfilled his contracts and moved on. Now, after this battle, his word carried a different weight. He was no longer simply a spectator to the stories of Aldor. Now, he was part of them. The warrior from Skadia was beginning to become the Executioner of Aldor. Osbrook and Mannshire already knew his name, and Velmir simply kept moving forward. After the battle, Velmir returned to the caravan. The camp had improved a little more, but something else had changed, far more than its facilities. His reputation. After what happened at Signal Tower, there was hardly anyone in Mannshire who did not know Velmir's name. And now, more and more people were willing to join his caravan. So, besides the contracts waiting for him in Mannshire, Velmir had a new task: find more companions. The first would be a hunter, an ideal companion for long expeditions, bringing experience, tools, and knowledge of survival. If Velmir wanted to take the caravan to the next level, having someone like her was no longer a luxury. It was necessary. With a new companion in the caravan came a new responsibility. Gold was necessary. Taking care of more people meant more expenses, more resources, and greater responsibility for Velmir. So the caravan's decision was simple. Before recruiting the next companion, they needed to gather the resources required. A minor contract, a Tier 2. Velmir accepted the assignment and set out once again. This time, the target was the undead. Once again, our executioner would have to fulfill his duty and deliver judgment upon those who no longer belonged among the living. Sentences delivered. Contract fulfilled. Today, Velmir showed us what his word is truly worth. From this day forward, Aldor will no longer see the warrior from Skadia in the same way. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you in the next chapter as we continue the story of Velmir, the Executioner. Until next time.